Right, this section is really, it's not narcissistic, but it's really about at least 70% of this room who are real entrepreneurs. And I've had 15 years working with Yo and made a bundle of mistakes, but I'm hoping that I can get these guys to talk a bit about their businesses and open up their views on what it is to be an entrepreneur, because that's what I guess at least 70 or 80% of the room are all about. And it's a kind of I mean, there's no mystery to it. I guess it's something you learn along the way. But I want to try and get these guys to talk a little bit about their businesses, a little about themselves, and then about lifting the skirts in their businesses and tell you what scares them at night and what they're doing about it. So I would like you, in turn, if you don't mind, just tell us, what really drives you. Why are you doing what you're doing? And then we'll talk about your business second.
I personally like things new, and I have a short attention span. I like to get things going. I like startups because I find it a lot more liberating than having a big corporate structure, unlike you. So I just find that's what motivates me.
Okay, yeah. Thanks Edge. Run
on. Sort of find a huge challenge that seems very difficult to achieve. That's probably what attracts me the most, and I think getting there and achieving it is very satisfying. And I think just, very similar to Edge, just having the sort of routine as well as the excitement is a really, really powerful combination. So smaller business, but growing it is just as exciting.
Okay, just tell me how long actually you've been working with Turtle Bay, and give me a bit of your background as well.
I founded it 4 years ago.
Yeah. Prior to that was?
Prior to that, I was one of the founders of Las Iguanas.
How many years?
I did 20 odd years.
Okay.
That was too long. Then since then I started a number of businesses and they're in various stages of growth.
Okay, and then Roberto, how many years with?
I had my own restaurant in Cape Town for about 10 years, owner manager, and then started with a ZZ business when it was a handful of restaurants.
Okay.
Left that and came over to Bill's 2 years ago.
And how big was ZZ's when you left?
About 128 restaurants, I think.
Okay, so you've got a bit of experience.
Yeah.
And Clive, you're a serial entrepreneur, I think, and doing it again. So. Your background and what drives you?
I mean, what drives me is I really enjoy going to pubs, and it's great to able to build up a pub chain of pubs that you go to and feel passionate about, and I just like the whole idea of building up an independent pub company and hopefully being successful, and if I'm absolutely honest, taking market share away from the big corporates. So that's what I enjoy about it.
Okay, and can you perhaps build a bit on that and tell us what you're doing in your business and how big it is and how big you think it might be and what your plans are?
Yeah, well, we sold Capital Pub Company about 3 years ago, and so we decided to set up a new pub company called City Pub Company, and basically replicating what we did with Capital Pub Company, building up a chain of independent free houses, going to other cities like Oxford, Cambridge, Norwich, Winchester, Bath, as well as London. And just really the same thing, building up an independent chain, all individual pubs, so no brands. I think brands are great, but it's not what gets me going in the morning. And I'm really just doing the same thing that we've done in the past.
So how big are you now?
We've got 18 pubs, and we hope to have about 25 pubs this time next year.
Okay, great. And then perhaps, actually, I won't keep doing this, but it might work at the moment. But just tell us a bit about in Turtle Bay and what your plans are and how you're going to grow your business, and then is there an end goal? I'm going to be pushing a little bit now.
Well, I hope there will be an end goal, but I'm not focusing on that one at the moment, but I'm primarily focusing on growing the brand. The early stages was proving the economic formula and the ideas about the brand that I had in my head would resonate with the consumer, and it did. So the first couple of years we were playing with that. Luckily, most of the ideas did work. Now the idea is to open the market up and put more sites on and build a team to make it into a sustainable, long-term viable business, really.
Okay, and then so if you think you're at 50 site Bill's.
Yes, we opened 50 last
50.
year.
So you're kind of a different place, and you're a little bit ahead of. You've been here before with Las Iguanas, but How do you now sustain what is explosive momentum in Bills? Because I think we're all kind of slightly in awe. I'm slightly scared by every time I walk down a high street to see another Bills appear.
Yeah.
Talk about their success. Why are you so successful, and then how do you maintain that momentum?
Okay, I mean it's been quite a ride, and you know, I think we certainly have opened many restaurants, but I think the philosophy of Bills, you know, we still link it to all the things that are meaningful to the guests and the customers. So, you know, what our talk every day is about delivering and executing the four walls and looking after our teams. You know, we take nothing for granted. So, for example, you know, if every guest walks into a Bills, of which I think there were 120,000 of them last week.
Wow.
We are, you know, Scott, myself, and the business are constantly talking about how can they walk into Bills, and for every single one of them to walk out really kind of, wow, it was much better than I expected. I think a lot of people, you know, Bills opens in their town or where they live, and we've ventured further out of London now, and they expect quite a lot because it's sort of this exciting name, and they sort of want to discover it. And when they do, we've really got to live up to that expectation of what they have for us, with an overwhelming feeling of really friendly teams and fresh quality food across the entire day.
And just, I'm really interested in this DNA point that Thomasina made. I mean,
Yeah.
do you know what your DNA is as a company and as a culture?
I think we've certainly set out a set of values in the business. I think we tap right into the early days of, even though Bill's not operationally involved directly, he's got some wonderful little, you know, ways of looking at things and talking about the business. But, you know, having started in Brighton and Lewis from a very, you know, great breakfast and daytime cafe-led business, we still pride ourselves on that. You can still go into Bill's and have great breakfast, but it goes all the way through the day. And I think the teams get that constant flow.
Okay. Okay. On the people bit, I know, Clive, you got some pretty strong views about how you motivate and grow your team and the culture. Do you want to share some of your insights on what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, financially, every manager is given a bonus, but we pay our bonuses monthly in arrears. So every month it's a new challenge. So and they get a head office rent, and then anything above that, they get 10%. And each month is a new challenge. And for as long as the manager stays in that pub, the head office rent stays the same. So if he does well one particular year, we don't then demotivate him, or her for that matter, by pushing up the rent. We just say, okay, you're doing a good job here. You've helped to create the goodwill within that pub, so you'll share with it in that goodwill next year, and for as long as you stay in that pub. And the good thing about that is you know, our pubs are very individual, so we want, in a way, that tenant culture. We want to create a pub manager who goes in there, makes a difference, feels he has ownership of that pub, can change the trading style of that pub, or have a lot of influence in that, and also is rewarded for the success he does year on year.
And how important is that to your company's success, would you say?
Hugely important. It keeps them there, keeps them loyal, keeps them very focused, and that helps to build up a very good culture, good values. And we also give them share options as well, not just managers, but, you know, head office team, you know, all the way down to, you know, the junior accounts clerk. And we also give share options to chefs and assistant managers and all the rest. So, and we're just about to introduce a profit share scheme where 5% of the company's profits will be shared amongst all staff who've been with us for a year or more. And each person, whether it's myself or the kitchen porter or whoever it is, will receive exactly the same amount of money. So it's almost like the John Lewis style of treating staff. And I think, you know, obviously property is a very important part of anyone's business, but I think fundamentally the key part is the staff. I mean, you know, they make the difference.
Can you give us a sense of what your turnover of management or team members was separated?
It's too low. I wish it would be higher sometimes.
Well, come on, tell us, because we'd all be sort of surprised.
It's probably easier with Capital because we're relatively young. But last 3 years, Capital, we lost one manager, and they went off, not to a competitor, but left the industry for personal reasons.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's good.
It's impressive. And Ajay, you have a similar kind of philosophy, I think. Can you describe the DNA of your business, which I think has something special about it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the DNA, I look at it from the consumer's point of view. And to me, it's about rum, it's about jerk, and it's about reggae. And it's basically the capture
Rum,
in
jerk,
the
and reggae.
Rum, jerk, and reggae.
Okay. And how do you teach people that? Is it just through the training?
It's through the training, it's through the recruitment, it's the people with the right attitude joining the business, setting the bar quite high. And beyond that, it's just got to keep developing each one of those areas to get better and better.
Okay. So 3 very differentiated businesses. Now, the reality is we've still got to basically pay the bills and look after our debt pile. I imagine that's one of the things that might keep you up at night. But what is it that you most worry about?
I guess Turtle Bay, luckily, Touchwood, has gone better than I had hoped. I had planned to do. So the thing I worry about is what's going to go wrong, and what is it that I haven't thought about. So that's the bit I worry about at the moment.
You worry about what you don't know about?
I worry about what I don't know about.
Blimey, marvellous. And then yourself, and Roberto, what's your view on this?
I think 2 things. Mainly is to let our teams. We've got a sort of 6 or 7 restaurants that have been around for years, and then quite a big estate of newish businesses, and we just want to let those guys really settle down and build that sort of loyalty within the community in all of their builds, and really establish that rapport with the customer. And I think secondly, the biggest thing that really freaks me out at night is to make sure that not one good manager leaves our business, and if they do and it's a surprise, then we should be asking ourselves, are we close enough to our business? Those 2 things.
And what are you going to do about it when it happens?
When it happens, I think, it hasn't happened yet, touch wood, and hopefully it won't. But I think it's about having the conversations and, the language and talking to the teams and the senior people in the business is, what are we doing about it? Who are you talking to? How well are we rewarding? How well are we challenging? How engaged are they with what we're doing? Are we really listening to people? That can be done as a survey, but actually you've really got to be close to the business. So it's recruiting like-minded people as well, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and Clive, you've been in a position where you've sold your business before. I mean, I guess people say starting the end in mind, and I think you have a slightly different view on this, but what are you going to do with this business? Are you going to sell it one day, or how do you see it panning out? Do you have a fixed plan?
I guess, because we're EIS backed, eventually we'll have to find an exit for shareholders. But I hope this time it will be at our choosing when we choose that exit, and just enjoy it, for as long as it goes on. So I don't want to sell it in the next 3 years because we're going through a very enjoyable phase and a good growing phase, and we want to build it up to a good independent free house chain of pubs. So there's no mad rush. But when the time comes, we'll pick that moment.
Can I just ask you about how you make decisions? The big ones about property or financing. Is you're an EIS-backed entity, so yourself and who else is a decision maker in your company?
Well, David Bruce is the chairman.
Yep.
John Roberts is non-exec, and there's 2 guys from Capital Pub Company who came over, Alex and Rupert, and they're also on the board as well. So I go out and source the pubs, and then we just agree as a board, to buy them. And I think, talking about what, I know you didn't ask me that question, about wiring at night. At Capital, we got to a stage where during the credit crunch we were overgeared, and fortunately we traded through that. So lessons learned. I know we're in a relatively good economic position at the moment, but I wouldn't want to, and I won't, overextend our borrowings just to chase expansion, because I just wouldn't want to be caught in a difficult position.
And I guess on the same basis, you've had experience with Las Iguanas and Turtle Bay. What lessons have you learnt growing your own business, yourself? And
yes, I think the first lesson is to keep your team very, very small, because I think as businesses grow, you bring in lots of managers, and I think managers comes like cherries. They need 2 other assistants, and I think communication and the effectiveness disappears. So I kept the team deliberately small. Only just about to open an office, and we got 12, 13 sites. Everybody's on the floor, as it were. and I think that has paid lots of dividends. So the communication is easy. There's not too many opinions. That might say something about me.
Is there a magical number? And this is a debate as a few of us have. I've been doing this for a few years, where it's hard to manage the business in the way you would like. I mean, is it 30, 50, 80, 100?
I think about 25.
25. I do think there's an interesting sort of story there. You have to manage in a different way, dramatically different.
It needs a different style of management, different kind of focus. I think around, in my experience, around 20, 25.
And that's your comfort zone, is it? And then
that's my comfort zone.
Right.
That's my comfort zone. I think for me personally, the day a finance director arrives, that's the day I want to step and become a non-exec.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Apologies to FDs in the room.
Apologies for all this FDs. I think they understand cost of everything, value of nothing.
That's really bold. Okay. That's good.
I think it kills entrepreneurship, innovation. It just kills everything.
Okay.
And if you got an FD in your business who is leading, wagging the tail, please, watch it.
Okay. I'm sure somebody's going to put their hand up in a minute. Roberto, any passing thoughts from you about sort of lessons learned or things to share?
Going to a really good debate. I mean, it's totally opposite to where Edge is, isn't it? We could go on forever about this because, I actually believe you've got to bring your FD right into what you do, And I find, joining my FD a year ago, we were like, I'm not the operator who's going to spend all the money, and you're the guy who's going to tell me to stop. We're a business partnership. We've got to work together to grow the business. You've got to be a visible leader in the business too. Yeah. And I think it's all about, as you grow, you've really got to work on those relationships. Those people, everyone in the business has got to carry that culture, and you've got to work really hard at it. And it can be done.
Okay.
What have I learned? Evolve your business, because I think adaptability is the most important thing. But don't make radical change if it's working and you just want to try and prove a point. Phased over time. Keep it interesting. Keep evolving the business.
Okay. Right. I want 2 or 3 questions out of you before tea. You can't go otherwise. So anybody would like to ask these guys a question? Great. Over there. Is that Mark? Yeah.
Hi guys, Robin made me promise I would ask you a question. I'm one of his plants. Apart from your own brands and companies, what concepts do you look to for inspiration? And also, what are your ones to watch?
Ash? Left, right.
I think there are lots of great concepts, but one of the things about innovation is, I think if you start looking at, I think it's a disease in our industry. I recently interviewed an executive chef, and I said, how do you go about being innovative, different, and what have you? And he took his iPhone out, and he said, look, I go around, I eat a lot, then I change the way they look and the recipes. And I think innovation is really difficult if you keep looking at other people. I remember as a kid going skiing, my ski instructor said, don't look at the trees because you're going to hit them. And I think a lot of operators end up looking at the other people. I, as a rule, I don't go to other operators. I'll be honest with you, I haven't been into Las Iguanas for 4 years, right? And the reason I don't is I think it clouds your mind. I think if you're going to create something different, Caribbean happened to be a unique concept. Nobody else had done it. When I did Las Iguanas, it was unique in its day. And I think the less you look at your operators over the shoulder, the better. Of course, I go to all the operators, I eat in them, I enjoy it, but I try not to do too much of what they do. So I do admire lots of brands. Oaxaca is a brand I admire. Bill's is a brand I admire. Yo, but I try not to put jerk chicken on a belt.
I don't think it worked. Roberto, do you want to answer the question as well? Because it's a good question.
Sure. Who do I admire? I mean, actually, I think there's great innovation out there. Lots of smaller businesses, street food. Just walking here today, and barbecue, and everyone's out in the streets cooking, and there's a great atmosphere. That's fantastic because I think it keeps you really interested in what's going on. However, I'm sort of more of the mindset. I really respect the bigger businesses that execute well every day. And if you walk into a Pret, I've yet to have a bad experience. Grab a sandwich and a coffee with 6 or 7 people at a counter that are all buzzing. I don't know how or why, but it's there. And it's a very simple business model, but it's very clean and effective, and I respect that. I think for me, executing and delivering every day are what I admire the most.
And the pub world, it'd be interesting to get perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer independence, so I admire the independents that crop up in various cities, and which then don't go into chains. But in terms of brands, I admire the brands that sustain and evolve and can change. They're not just rigid about their brand, but they change with the different marketplace. So if I'm looking at brands and trying to see what they do, I look at the ones that have been around for a while and see how they've evolved over the years to stay in the marketplace.
Okay. Time for at least one more question. Come on. This lady over here, I think.
Thank you. Kate Nichols of the ALMR, which is the trade body for the eating and drinking out sector, and particularly for the entrepreneurs in the sector, of which you rightly said 70% are probably sitting in this room. Two of the biggest issues that we face when we talk to our members that they say are the biggest inhibitor on growth and entrepreneurship. One is picking up both on what Thomasina said earlier, changing the perceptions of the sector to attract the talent and the graduates in, and secondly, the cost of property. And both of those issues we're working on and are working with government on to try and change the situation that entrepreneurs find themselves in. If you had a magic wand, given we've got a general election coming up, what one thing would you like to see happen to change either the perception of the industry and employment or cost of property and tackling the challenges there with rents and rates?
Cool, you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think cost of assets, it's a difficult thing for a government to change, but I think where they can make a big impact straight away is on business rates. You know, I think it's outrageous that, you know, you do well in a pub and off it goes, and suddenly tap, tap, tap on the shoulder, and they say, oh, we see you just reopened and trade's gone up and we're going to double your rates. And I think that's iniquitous. So I think governments should do something about business rates.
Okay. Guys? Election?
Stand up for election. I think the property is a hard one. I think property and people are the two key issues. But I'm not entirely sure what we can do about the property, because I think it's a simple demand-supply issue. There are too many operators chasing too many sites. So having an innovative brand that can take risk in under-supplied market is certainly a good one. On the people front, I think, again, too many great operators chasing too few people. So the only thing is you've got to keep close to your people and look after them, but I'm not sure entirely what else beyond that I can do. I sort of accept it as a fact of life.
Okay, they're both evils you have to deal with.
Yes.
I think there is an issue about the collective voice of the people in this sector. We are hopelessly disorganised and inefficient at actually vocalising our own agendas. I think you probably agree with that. And I sit at the BHA and I sit there thinking, well, crikey, you know, why can't we engage governments in supporting what is effectively the voice of 12% of the working population? It's daft. I mean, the supermarkets have had it their own way for years. And we do employ people, we do give career opportunities that others can't. So I think it's a massive opportunity rather than a risk going forward if we get our act together. Anyway, that's me off my own little trolley. Okay, I'd just say thank you very much. There are three great folk here with great businesses. Please put your hands together for them.